Ready?
Yeah.
Put my phone inside.
Yeah, I did too.
I don't know how long this is gonna take. We're gonna get the good stuff. We're gonna...
First of all, I'd just like to say I wouldn't be here without Monster.
Hey, what's up, world? Welcome to Freedom to Vent, and I'm your host, Bon. And today we're at my first interview, and we got a special guest. You know, his name is Kenny Chambers. This man right here has, you know, a great influence on my life. He has been through the muck of things. They call him the terror of night. This man has done a lot of good stuff in his life, man, and I can't go on saying how much good he is doing, and especially for the Native American community and everything. And man, well, we'll just go ahead and get into it, guys. And welcome everybody. Welcome, Kenny. Here you go, Kenny.
Hi.
How you doing, Kenny?
Good to see you.
Man, bro, it's good to see you, bro. It's good to meet you right now.
Yeah.
Good to be here right now with
Glad
you,
to
bro.
be here. Honored to be here, brother.
Bro.
Honored to be here.
You're first one, bro.
Yeah. You a little nervous?
You're not a guinea pig. Well, man, why don't you go ahead and give me a brief introduction of yourself and, like, what are you about today, you know?
Yes. My name is Kenny Chambers. I'm from Holdenville, Oklahoma. Part of the Creek Nation tribe of Muskogee. I'm also Seminole as well. A little background. Grew up in Oklahoma, Holdenville. Traveled, working construction. Then, in and out of prison. A lot of jail time. Addicted to my drug of choice is methamphetamines. Came out here to California roughly, August the 8th, 2022. August the 7th, I came out here. August 22, August the 8th of 2022, I came out here. Just celebrated over 2 years of being clean and sober.
Man, congrats, bro.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Never thought I'd be here, never thought I was going to stay in California this long. Thought I was going to do the little, 30-day, 90-day, treatment and go back home, and thought life would be good. But God's blessed me with being out here for 2 years, and God paved a path for me to go, and I've just chose to follow His way, and He's led me here to where I'm at today. That's who I choose to call my higher power. And without God in my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So,
nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, bro. Let's go ahead and let's talk about some stuff, bro. So what was life like as a kid for you?
My childhood was good. I say it was good until I got into recovery, and I found out there was a lot of chaos in my life. My dad drank. Was an abusive dad. For a long time, I just thought that's how life was. That's how man ran his household. So yeah, my upbringing was good.
So like for abusive, like what do you mean? Like you got in trouble and he whipped you, or?
Well, I would say this. My first addiction was attention. That was my first addiction, was attention. I wanted attention all the time. As a child, I didn't care how I got it, good or bad. I wanted attention. So sometimes as a child, I would act out so my parents would pay attention to me.
Oh yeah.
And whether it was
relate to that.
Whether it was getting a spanking or getting grounded or getting scolded, I just wanted their attention any way I could get it. So yeah, my child upbringing was good. I had my father. Now my father wasn't there for me much. But my mother was there all the time. My father was like I would say he was like a weekend father. He did all the discipline when he came in from work on the weekends. But yeah, my mother's the one that she was the one that showed all the love and compassion, for me and my other two siblings. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So you got two other siblings?
Yes, I have a younger brother, Brian. He's a year younger than me, and I have an older sister, Sherry, that's 2 years older than me. Norms live really productive lives, nothing like their brother, but but with their, but they was always, even through my addiction, they was always there for me.
Yeah.
They didn't understand it, but they knew it had, I can remember them sending me text messages and just saying, I don't know what it's like to be an addict, but I know it's got to be tough, and we're praying for you.
Wow, that's some support right there.
That's what they would say.
Yeah. Sound like your mom really loved you, man.
Yeah.
Sound like she was the backbone.
She was the backbone. I'm 54 years old, and I'm a mama's boy still. But thank God for my mother. I probably wouldn't be alive today. She helped me out, bailed me out a lot of trouble I was in. But yeah, she's my support, my number one supporter. But there's times she had to set boundaries with me as well. I think some of the worst advice I ever gave her was to go see a counselor, and they told her to start playing the tough love. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that. I can remember going and asking her for money, and she'd give me money, and I told her one time, I said, you just need to see a counselor too. You think I need to see, maybe you need to see one. So she did, and that counselor told her, don't give him any money. If he needs gas, then you take him down there and you put the gas in his truck, but you don't hand him money anymore. And I wanted money. I didn't want gas. I didn't want cigarettes.
I remember doing that all the time. Bro.
Yeah. So, and then I was thinking. Then I remember even telling my mom, "Why'd you ever go talk to that counselor? Why'd you ever do that? That's the worst thing you ever could have done." But yeah. So my mother is the backbone of our family. Yeah.
Cool. Bro.
Yeah. She's the glue that holds it together.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Man.
So.
That's awesome, bro. I feel like, that's what we need. That's all we want, really.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like, I know for me, I always wanted that.
Sure.
Like a mom and dad, like a mom just to fucking love me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So bro, that's awesome, bro. I love it.
Well, I played a lot of sports, and that was one thing that was one thing I always knew. Friday nights, whatever, if I was playing basketball, baseball, whatever, I know I could always look in the stands and Mama was there.
Nice.
Mom was always there. You know what I mean? That was without a doubt. Mom was always there.
So you're pretty active in sports, and
yeah.
Did you have any rides to go to college or?
Bacone, your little local schools.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking. I went out to Wyoming. Was out there for a while, but. Being a small town basketball star in Holdenville and going up to junior college was totally different for me. So I didn't last long. Didn't last long at that. But that's where I think I got introduced to drugs. Whenever I was in college. And I think the marijuana started for me at a young age. I was always this kid that was outgoing. I got along with everybody. And when I was a freshman in high school, I ran around with the older crowd. The older crowd just thought I was cool, and I could run around with those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that, of course, as a freshman, they were seniors or juniors and seniors. That's what they were doing. So I've tried in that. But just me speaking, from my own experiences, that I believe.
So would you?
Is a gateway.
Yeah.
Marijuana's a gateway.
Marijuana's a gateway. So, did you just smoke to fit in, or was you smoking to just escape something already? I
think a little bit of both for me. One, just to fit in. When I did smoke, or when I smoked and drank, it made me confident. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I wasn't confident. I didn't have enough confidence in myself. I think the marijuana and the alcohol made me come out of my shell. It made me more of a positive person and get along with more people, make people laugh. I've always lived by that with my personality. It has got me through life in a lot of ways,
yeah.
Good and bad.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. That's. I think that's what alcohol and drugs do to everybody. Just gets us out of our shell.
Yeah.
Wants us to be somebody that we couldn't be sober, so we thought, because you're pretty outgoing now.
Yeah, and I've always been that way, you know what I mean? But I think more of the alcohol made me more be of this, somebody that I wasn't, you know what I mean? But I knew that alcohol was kind of like you hear people talk about. It makes us bulletproof. It makes us, it makes us
Yeah.
the people that we're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when the alcohol's gone, we're left with us, and we don't like. I didn't like what I seen then, so I would drink more or do more just to get me out of that, get me out of self. You know what I mean? So
Gotcha.
yeah.
So you already said that like you were in and out of jail and prison. When do you think that started? Like, about what age was this stint starting to come in?
I was doing things, at a young age because I wanted attention. I can remember at a young age I was caught stealing from Walmart. I was stealing wristbands for basketball. That was probably one of my first times I've ever got caught stealing. The second time I can remember was throwing water balloons at cars and busting out the front of a windshield. You know what I mean?
Dang.
So yeah, so I was just your ornery, kid growing up. Riding bikes around town, doing ornery things. But as I got older, I went to Wyoming and lived in Casper, Wyoming for 7 years. When I came back, I hadn't got introduced to drugs when I was out there in Wyoming, Casper, Wyoming. But when I came back to Oklahoma, that's when it really started. My addiction really kicked in hard. Couldn't keep a job. Got in trouble. Got put in a drug court program back in Seminole County in Oklahoma. And the only reason why I took drug court was just because I didn't want to go to prison. I was just what they call just buying time. I was just buying time.
How old was you then? How old was you when you went to drug court?
I was 29 years old. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I hid it for a long time. I managed it for a long time. I kept a job. Did everything I was supposed to until I couldn't do it no more. I guess I was one of those people where when I started out it was fun until it wasn't fun no more. It started controlling my life. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Man, 7 years in Wyoming. What ages was that?
That was 18 up to I was 19 up to till I was 26.
And you went there for college?
Yeah. Went out there for that.
Man, there must have been some pretty babes out there, and.
Well, Casper's a small town, but this is just part of my story. I had a son out there while I was out there, and we don't talk. You know what I mean? I moved back to Oklahoma, wanting to support my son that was out there. Her and my son came back to Oklahoma. They stayed 1 week. I went to work. And came home one day and they were gone.
Wow.
They went back to Casper, Wyoming, and I always told myself I'm going to go back out there. Never did. So I don't have a relationship with him. We talk very seldom. Do we talk? And I'm talking about once every couple of years. You know what I mean? But hopefully that I can have a relationship with him someday. You know what I mean? But what I've had to realize is that it's got to be in his time, not mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's been tough for me. But I deal with it better now. You know what I mean? I deal with it better now that I've accepted that fact. You know what I mean? That I missed out on a lot of years with my son. So it's okay.
That's all right, bro. Yeah. Sorry you had to go through that, man. So like, how much of life would you say you spent behind bars?
9, probably 9 years total in prison. Yeah. So that's not counting county time. If you want to add that in there, I'd probably looking at probably 10 or 11. You know what I mean? But I've done 9 years in prison. In and out. That wasn't just at one stint. I was one of these guys that luckily my family knew the court system, knew the DA, knew some of the judges. So, I'd go to prison for 2 years, 3 years at a time, and then I'd get out, and I'd stay out about a year and a half. I'd go back in for another 2 years, 3 years, just in and out. I've been in 4 times. I can remember going and getting into prison and doing everything I needed to do to get out. If they said take a drug and alcohol class, you'll get 30 days knocked off. If you'll, take take a anger management class. You'll get another 30 days knocked off. I would take everything that they asked me to so I could get days knocked off so I could get out. Once I got out, I started doing the same thing. I did everything and get put right back in. You know what I mean? Either the drugs or the the counterfeit money, the counterfeit checks. Just a lot of things like that. What I learned was too is that and even people would tell me, Kenny, all that scheming and scamming, because you got a good brain. Your mind can think really well how to do things. But if you could use that in a positive way, your life would be amazing. And they were right. You know what I mean? They were right. And so now I've been trying to do that since I've came out here to California, is to all that thinking I did to try to scheme and con and steal from people. I use it in a positive way today.
So I remember, like, not too long ago, you had mentioned. So I want to go back a little bit, like, to life before prison.
Okay.
Like, what was that like? Like, because I remember you saying that, you had to carry water to flush the toilet.
Yeah, I can remember some of the places I used to use that. Or places I stayed. My life wasn't. I've always put this good mask on. Everybody. Had a lot of people think my life was okay, but there's been times where, I've even had to. We didn't have running water. I think we were talking about gratitude one day. And somebody said, "Well, Kenny, what are you grateful for?" I think just the thought that came to my mind that day was just the thought of warm water. I'm so thankful that I can go in there and turn my water on, and I know hot water is going to come out of there, because my life wasn't always like that. There was times where I would take a 5-gallon bucket, and fill it up from the neighbor's house and go set it out in the sun for 2 or 3 hours. And then the water would be warm in that 5-gallon bucket. Then I could pull it, take it in the house, and I could take me a bath. That's how my life was at one time. So and I think about those times. I think I know. A lot of people say we need to forget about the past. For me, and this is just me speaking with my recovery, is that I like to remember the past.
Yeah.
Because it keeps me going to where I'm at today. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, do I like to do I like to think about the pain and misery? Well, sure I do, because it gives me motivation to keep on. Because I just won't go back to that lifestyle. I just won't. People, and even when I talk to people, I don't like it when they say, "Well, you don't have to live like that anymore." No, just tell yourself you won't live like that anymore. And I just won't today. Whenever people say don't, it leaves me a gray area. And for me, I'm stubborn. It's either black or white for me. It's either black or white. There's no gray areas. Yeah. So, but my life, it was chaos. Like I said, I was just trying to find a place to stay. Sometimes, and luckily I had so-called friends that would allow me to come over and stay for a couple of days. I was telling one buddy of mine, I was talking to him the other day, and he's like, "Kenny, I'm so proud of you." He said, "I can remember one day, I don't know if you remember this, it's been years ago, but you asked me if you could come out there and do a load of laundry at my house." And I said, "Yeah, you could." And you ended up staying 6 months, man. Until his wife said, "Hey, man, I think it's time Kenny's got to go." You know what I mean?
Hey.
Did a load of laundry and ended up staying 6 months out there. Yeah, so, but yeah, where my life is at today is, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for, that I decided to come out here. You know what I mean? But it takes work. As you well know, Stephen, it takes work.
It takes work every day.
It takes work every day. Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
During them times, man, like before you went to prison, man, what's like the most extreme thing that you would say you had to do? Like, let's see here. Like for me, man, I can remember waiting for the cop. The cop car was pulling up behind us, and I was telling the people, I said, "Dude, I'm about to run. As soon as they step out of their car, I'm running." Like, did you ever have to do anything like that? Like,
probably one of the worst things I really remember that was one of my lowest points is, my dad was the chief of the Seminole Nation in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
They were chasing me. Him and his light horse were chasing me one night out in the woods. They said I was armed and dangerous. They thought I had some guns on me, but he was on. He just thought. They went back to the complex and they asked him. He said, he said, "Are you guys?" They went and got some guns, and the White Horse did. And my dad was doing some office work late at night. Anyway, they said, "So what are you doing?" And they said, "Well, if you want to know, the truth, Chief, we're chasing your son tonight." And he's like, "Well, crap. I guess I better come out there and see what's going on." So anyway, they had me out in the field. My dad was on the intercom, and he said, "Son, I want you to come out and give yourself up. You need help. You need help. They're gonna shoot you. You need to get some help." And that right there was probably one of my lowest points. And that still wasn't enough to get me to straighten up. I ran from them all night long. They ended up catching me the next morning and taking me to jail. But yeah, that was one of the lowest points. And I lost my dad. It's probably been 7-8 years ago now, but he never got to see me clean and sober. Never did. He died of a massive heart attack. So, but I've learned to deal with that, and I'm one of these people that believe that people that I've lost before me, I think they're looking down, and they're cheering us on. Even my dad, for a fact, probably sitting there saying, well, I didn't get to see it then, but I get to see it now.
Yep.
So yeah. So, but yeah, that was probably one of my low points in my life. That one, and I'll give you one more. I was in Oklahoma City. I had went. I left the store to go get some milk for I was married at the time, with my wife and my 2 daughters at home, and I didn't make it to the store. I made it to the dope man instead. I was gone for 90 days. They didn't know where I was at. I didn't call them. I wouldn't answer my phone. I let somebody borrow my vehicle at the time. They found it stripped and burned, so they called my mother because she was on the registration with me. So they said, at this time I was gone for about 60 days, and they said, "Well, where's my son?" I said, "Well, we don't know. We just found the car stripped and burned." So in her mind, he's probably dead. He's probably dead. Anyways, I was in Oklahoma City, and then I went to a store one night at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and there's a poster of me up there, and it said, $3,000 reward for the whereabouts of Kenny Chambers, last seen driving GMC Yukon, blah blah blah. And I thought, my family was looking for me, and I can remember my mother lives an hour and a half away from Oklahoma City, and I can remember going there at 4 o'clock in the morning, going somewhere, and I would pass my mother. And she was up there driving the streets in Oklahoma City, looking for me, Yeah, and I can remember who I was with. I looked back and I said, "That's my mom's truck, man." She was up here at 4 o'clock in the morning looking for me, and that was probably one of my lowest points, But what it took me was for my mother to call a good friend of mine that was the head of the drug task force. And I had a warrant out for me because I failed to appear, and they kicked the door in. On me, and they arrested me and took me to jail. And at the time, I was 175, or I was 162 pounds. And the thing about it is my family was down the street. My mother, my aunt, my dad, my grandma, my brother, my sister, and they were down the street. And I had to get in that cop car after they arrested me, and go out of a cul-de-sac, and had to drive right by them. And I could see them all sitting there just looking at me crying, thinking, at least he's safe. At least he's safe now. That was probably my lowest point ever. And that cop, I could hear my mother screaming, "I want to see my son. I want to see my baby. I want to see my son." I told that cop, I said, "Don't let her see me like this. Please don't let her see me like this." And so he said, "Okay." So he put me in the car, and he just drove right by me. She was trying to claw that police car as we drove by because she wanted to see me. So, yeah. So that was probably. But the guy that kicked the door in on me was one of my high school best friends. Steve Cash was his name, and I called him every name in the book when he arrested me that day. And he said, "Kenny, your family loves you, man." He said, "You can't see it now, but he said, I saved your life." And I said, "No," cussed him, and he said, "All you had to do was I was one of these that all you had to do was let me know I need to turn myself in. I'd have turned myself in, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have done that. But you know, he's one of my biggest supporters today, and I have thanked Steve for arresting me now. It took me a while to get there, but I said, you know, thank you for saving my life that day. Because I was on the road of destruction, you know what I mean?
Most definitely.
Yeah. So it was that was probably one of the lowest points. But still, you know, once again, that wasn't enough. You know what I mean? I think, you know, everybody, you know, people talk about their bottom. You know, I think my bottom is death. You know what I mean? I really do. You know what I mean? I think, you know, I put limitations on my, on my using, where it was even like, you know, people ask me, what's it going to take? What's it going to take for you to stop using drugs, Kenny? And I said, well, I know what it is. When I stick a needle in my arm, that's when I know I'm going to stop, because I'm not a junkie. People that do that are junkies. So what happened? I started doing that. And then they asked me, so what's it going to take for you to stop now? If I ever see somebody OD, that's when I'm going to stop, I guarantee you. I saw somebody OD, I saw somebody die on it, you know what I mean? Overdosed on cocaine. We stepped over their body that night. Then we slid them out of the way, you know what I mean? And then, I think I just kept putting limitations on, you know, on my using, you know what I mean? I think my bottom would have been death if I didn't, you know, decide to come out to California and get help.
Thank God you came out here, man.
I know, right? You know what I mean?
Bro. So yeah, so we're gonna go to one of these questions. Then, so let me see here. How did you find and choose the right treatment or recovery program for yourself? Like, what was going through your mind before? Because there's plenty of places in Oklahoma to go to.
Yeah, and I've been to a couple. I've been to one called Alpha 2 in Tonkawa, up around Ponca City. And I've been to another one called Lighthouse up in Woodward. You know what I mean?
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
And I think, you know, and this is just me speaking. 30 days can't scratch the surface for an addict like me. You know what I mean? I know everybody's different, but for somebody, or even most addicts, you know, I mean, I think we need more than 30 days. I think we'd lead. If it was up to me and I could make a state law out of it, I'd make you do treatment for at least 6 months to a year. You know what I mean? To start it, because I think after, you know, it takes a while for your mind to even start thinking right. You know, and I think for at least a year, your mind even starts thinking clear. So, you know, and at the time, you know, once again, my mother intervened, my daughters intervened, and they said, "Dad, we need you to go get help, or you're going to go back to prison again." You know what I mean? Two things were going to happen, and of course I was loaded at the time, and they were crying. They started crying because I said, "No, I can stop on my own. I'll just quit." You know what I mean? And it's like, "No, we want you to go get help." So I said, "If you guys can, you know," and I'm sure you guys have heard the story before. I think I've told it, but you know, I said, I was thinking they thought they meant Oklahoma. We'll go to treatment. I didn't want to go to Oklahoma. You know what I mean? And if they even would have said, well, we found you a place to go in Nebraska. You know, I don't want to go to Nebraska. There's a bunch of corn out there. I don't want to go there. They could have said anywhere. You know what I mean? But they said, and I said, well, okay, if you guys would just quit crying, because I didn't like to feel. I want to see people with emotions and feelings, and I didn't want them to feel sorry for me. So I just said, so where's this treatment place that you guys? Where do you guys want me to go to rehab at? And they said, well, we found a place to go out in California. And I said, you mean where the beaches are, and the women will run around in bikinis? You talking about that, California? And they said, yeah. And I said, you know what? I think I might need a rehab. I mean, that was, and I'm not kidding. That was the ticket that got me out here. You know what I mean? But also, I think I just wanted something different. I was at the point of desperation. I was living. My mother has a camp house out in the country. I was living in it. You know what I mean? And that was. I knew I needed to do something, or I was going back to prison, or I was going to die. Fentanyl was just getting introduced to Holdenville around that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I knew that one or two things were going to happen. I was going to die, or I was going back to prison. So that was the ticket for me to come out here, and I didn't care where I went. I didn't do a background on the treatment center I went to, but luckily I went to a detox in LA, and I went to a program up there called Stairways. Stairways is where I went up there, and that's where they introduced me to getting a sponsor, working steps, going to meetings, and through all that, I found, I found my higher power, who I choose to call God, and I didn't always do the God piece. I blame God for a lot of things. What I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about it. A lot of people don't do the God piece when they come out here. What I mean. I use God as a spare tire, emergencies only, what I mean? And I used to bargain with God, and that was one thing my mother said, you don't bargain with God, what I mean? I was one of these guys that got in jail, and I said, God, I promise you, if you just find for me a way to get out and get a suspended sentence where I don't have to go back to prison, I'll never use another drug in my life, what I mean? And then within 24 hours to 48 hours after I was out, I was right doing the same thing again, and so yeah.
How many times you been to prison?
4 times.
4 times.
4 times. 4 times.
Ooh, I didn't count you. That's 3 after the 3rd time.
Yeah, that's a life sentence.
That's a life sentence, man.
Yeah, that's right. And thank God for that. What I mean? Thank God. What I mean? And because somebody, I was talking to somebody the other day. They was talking about that. They said, "Good thing you didn't break the law out here like you did in Oklahoma." They said, "You'd be sitting there. What I mean? You wouldn't have had a second chance, third chance, fourth chance, what I mean?" So yeah, but I think it's like I talked about earlier. I think some of my past is I had to go through all that to be right where I'm at today. I had to go through all that. And I'm grateful for my past today. And I remember somebody asking me early in recovery. They said, "Are you grateful for your past?" I'm like, "No." "Would you change anything?" I said, "Yeah, there's a lot of things I would change. There's a lot of things I would change, but now that I've gotten recovery, I wouldn't change nothing because I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I had to go through all that pain and misery to be where I'm at today."
Suffering.
Yeah, all the suffering. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's when people really change, man. When they really hit that suffering.
Yeah.
They're tired of suffering.
And I've told people that, what I mean? And I'm kind of harsh, what I mean? I'm kind of hard when it comes to talking to my Indian people, and especially when it comes to, that they've told me, they said, "I'm not done yet. I know I'm not done yet." And I said, "Well, I really would. Maybe you just need to go out. Maybe you need to go out and get on a sick one. What I mean? Or maybe you just had hit enough pain and misery in your life to want to stop."
Yeah.
And some people aren't there yet. I mean, it's sad to say, but some people, they got reservations. Yeah, and you got to, when you like you talked about, like, hey, there's got to be suffering involved. What I mean? We got to suffer a little while for it.
I see what was that. Pain and suffering. So like, okay, how would you describe because there's a lot of natives back home.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of natives, man, and like back home, man, I feel like we've already went through a lot of pain and suffering as people, as ourselves, like natives.
Sure.
Already, and we take a lot of pride in ourselves, and we don't like to ask for help. So like, how would you describe the recovery out here compared to back home?
Well, for me, and this is just me speaking, I think natives, I'm talking about my family, I'm talking about Native Americans in general, we're jealous people. I don't know why that is, but I wouldn't say all natives, but there's a lot of natives that are just jealous people. They don't like to see someone do good. They don't like positive things in their life. I've heard people say, well, they want to act like they're white now. because they got a job, they got a new car, their life is good today. But with that being said, I think especially for a lot of natives, we have a lot of pride and ego as well. I mean, and as men, as men, I grew up in a household where, first of all, men don't cry. I mean, I can remember being at a young age where I would cry about something. My dad would say, "I'll give you something to cry about. You better stop crying right now."
Yeah.
And it could be anything. I remember one incident was one of my best friends moved away. He moved away that summer, and I came home and I was crying. And I told my dad, I said, "What are you crying about?" And I said, "Well, my best friend just moved, Dad, and they're moving to a different town." He said, "I'll give you something to cry about, boy." You know, and boy, I just, so yeah, so I think pride and ego comes along with that. We don't like to show emotions, but we don't like to share our feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's big in the natives.
Yeah, one thing I've had to learn is that the only way I'm going to grow in my recovery is I got to share that with people. I remember early in my recovery, I got out here and I got lonely for home. And my sponsor asked me, "What's going on with you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just missing home." He said, "Well, there's more to it than just missing home. What's really going on with you?" And he wanted me to dig deep down inside of myself and feel these feelings that he wanted me to say. And I was like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Well, there's something else. You're not. There's a reason why you're missing home." I said, "I'm lonely." I said, "That's what I'm looking for." We've got to feel those feelings way down deep inside of us, to identify what's going on with our lives, because everything's just not good and bad. There's feelings underneath that, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, and so, yeah, but out here, I've learned to ask for help, you know what I mean? And it's okay to ask for help, you know what I mean? Has it been easy for me? No, it hasn't been easy, because once again, I'm a grown ass man. I can get through this by myself. I don't need nobody's help. I got myself in here. I'll get myself out. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think in recovery we have to ask for help. You know what I mean? That's the only way we're going to be able to stay on the road, to recovery. It's asking for help.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of for natives, man, we sweep a lot of stuff under the rug.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially oh, you're feeling sad?
Yeah.
It's okay. Just whatever. Get over it.
Get over it. Exactly.
Get over it.
Yeah.
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 And we didn't. Even at a young age, I was sexually abused, at a young age. You know what I mean? And that's something that my family doesn't. They don't even know nothing about that. You know what I mean? And because it was through a family member. You know what I mean? And I just know how my family is. They'd want to know who was, and then it would cause conflict between them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so then I think things like that I had to work through was like, if I revealed that to my family, is that gonna help? What's that gonna help?
Well, now
It's gonna cause chaos between my family.
Yeah.
So I just don't share that with them. You know what I mean?
Well, you just shared it with me.
Yeah, that's fine.
And
but I'm okay with that today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Before I came out here, no, I never shared that with anybody till I was 52 years old when first time I shared that with anybody. You know what I mean? But that was some of the secrets that kept me sick. You know what I mean? Yeah, the secrets will keep us sick if we're not willing to deal with those secrets. I think that's why we stay in our disease of addiction. We don't want to feel that. We don't want to face the trauma that we had as a young child or as a young female. We don't want to face the trauma. You know what I mean? Everybody has trauma in their life, I believe.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, everybody has trauma. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that with us, man. Just what you went through as a kid, man, and because for natives, man, I feel like there's been a lot of trauma.
Sure.
In the native culture, that we. For myself, I've had some stuff happen to me too, but it's you don't want to say nothing because just like you said, man, it'll cause chaos and be chaotic, or it's just oh well, get over it.
Yeah, and for me, one thing the reason why I didn't like to share about my childhood trauma is because I was always afraid how people looked at me.
Yup.
I'm always going to be judged. That's what people are judged. We're judgmental people. People are going to look at me. Oh, he was molested by a man. You know what I mean? And standoffish people.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, so I was always afraid to speak up about my childhood trauma. You know what I mean? But like I shared earlier, I think a lot of trauma and addiction go hand in hand. You know what I mean? I think I don't believe that. I don't believe anyone just says, "I think I'm going to be a drug addict today." You know what I mean? There's something that leads up to that.
Yep.
And a lot of it's trauma. A lot of it's childhood trauma. That the reason why there's a process that leads us up to that. And things that we don't identify, and that we don't know how to deal with on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
No.
So yeah, so I think it's just, and I don't know that's my story. You know what I mean? Childhood trauma. Led up to my addiction. You know,
Yeah.
is not dealing with it, and then once again, for me to stay clean and sober, I have to deal with it. I have to deal with those problems. I have to head them, head on. That's how I have to face them.
So like you said, your mom and them. Would you consider them like the key factor of why you seeked out help?
Yeah.
Or
That was one of the main factors, you know what I mean? But, I was, I was this guy that, I was so heavily in my disease of addiction that, I grew up as in a religious home. So even heavily in my disease of addiction, I would pray. I'd pray to God, to take the disease of addiction away from me. But, and then I'd wake up the next day and I was still jonesing for a fix.
Yep.
So I thought, God, you can move mountains, you can do all these miracles, but what is it that I've done that's so bad that you can't save me? But I feel like for me is that what I've learned is that God will help us through anything, but He wants to see a little effort out of us. We can't just sit back and say, God heal me.
Yeah.
God heal me. You know what I mean? He wants to see a little effort out of us. We've got to do some footwork when it comes to people, even recovery. You know what I mean? Same thing with the recovery process. People want to see a little bit of, we're good at this.
All day.
We can do that all day. But we got to put some foot action into it. You know what I mean? We got to put some footwork, and it takes work. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But that was one of the biggest things, and heavily in my disease of addiction. I was, for me to come out here, I can remember praying to God, and I would even say this: is like, God, if you don't want me to wake up tomorrow, I'm okay with that. I was okay. I was too scared. I was too scared to commit suicide. I wasn't there yet. But at one point in my late in my addiction, I really didn't care if I woke up the next day. I didn't really care. I knew I felt like I was a nuisance to my family. I was an embarrassment to my children. So, but then again, for me coming out here, I was blessed with God. And when I say God, it was the gift of desperation. You know what I mean? Desperation. Yeah. I just wanted something different. I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew I didn't want to do this. I know I didn't want to do that. I was tired of that. You know what I mean? I was tired of it. But I was so heavily in my addiction that it was a solution to everything. It was a solution to the way I felt. You know what I mean? Once again, I'd wake up and I think I'm an embarrassment to my kids. To my mother. You know what I mean? So, and I don't like feeling like that. So I do that. The drugs would take all that pain away. Like, okay, who cares what people think of me? Who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not hurting nobody but myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the way I thought was, But what I've learned is, that in our addiction, we think it's our body, it's our life to live. We're a grown ass man. This is my life to destroy. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's the people we hurt most is the people that love us the most.
Man.
Yeah, and that's our family and our kids.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's what I always that's what I looked over. I didn't know how much stress I was putting my grandma under. Mm-hmm. I didn't, I have a cousin that would call me and I wouldn't answer. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? The things we did during addiction is just like, I'm not bothering you. It's not hurting your life.
Yeah.
But in all actuality, it is.
Sure.
In some way.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I've learned since coming out here, man. And that's what's, and just listening to your story and everybody else's story, it's just like, man, I'm really fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Like, man, bro, it's like you want to go back, but it's like you can't. But you know what? I can do something about it today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing from you, Like you're doing something so tell me right now, not like right now, but what are some strategies, and tools that you're using to keep your sobriety?
Well, one thing that you know, and I tell people this all the time. There's everybody's recovery is different, but I work in treatment, and with the groups I run. Now I have a 5 ingredient for my recovery today, and it's like number one, I go to meetings regularly. You know what I mean? And when I say that, I use 7 days a week. So, really, should I go to meetings 7 days a week? I probably should, but it's a lot. So I at least go to 3 to 4 meetings a week. So I go to meetings regularly. When I go to meet, and I tell people this: when you go to meetings regularly, you're going to hear about getting a sponsor. And then when you get a sponsor, he'll introduce you to the 12 steps. And then when you start working these 12 steps, you'll get introduced to a higher power, who I choose to call God. You know what I mean? Everybody don't have to do the God piece. And then number 5. It's helping another addict or alcoholic that's suffering, being of service. You know what I mean? So those are the 5 things that I use in my life today to help me stay clean and sober. Do I do it perfectly? No, I don't. I don't by any means. I haven't done this since the 2 years I've been out here. I haven't done this program perfectly. But there's only one thing I have done perfectly, and that's not picked up and I've not drank.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I've not used. And my life continues to get better. My life continues to get better. In early recovery, I heard that long as you don't, we're going to make mistakes. You know what I mean? We're like, I think early recovery, we're like little kids.
Yeah.
We're learning, I think when we get here, we're on our hands and knees and we're crawling, wanting help. And then after we get a little bit of clean time, we stand up, we start walking. And we're going to fall, we're going to make mistakes. You know what I mean? You just get up and dust yourself off, and you just keep on trucking. You know what I mean? But yeah, early recovery, my sponsor told me, he said, as long as you don't pick up, as long as you don't use, your life will continue to get better. You know what I mean? And he was right. You know what I mean? I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but I came from LA down to Huntington Beach. On my 1 year clean date, I was working for a company. I was working in treatment, and out here or just anywhere, they give you a cake on your 1 day. On your 1 year clean date.
Yeah.
So I go into work, and my boss says, "Hey, we need you to come in the office." Once again, I'm thinking, that's right. All my coworkers are going to be in there, and they're going to give me this cake. They're all going to be in there and go, "Surprise, happy 1 year, Kenny." And I walk in there, and I said, "Where's everybody at?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, today's my 1 year clean date, right?" And he says, "Yeah, I do know that, but you need to sit down. We need to have a talk." And I said, "Okay." So I was like, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, you violated HIPAA. You made a major HIPAA violation within our company, and as of right now, you're being fired. I know you're a house manager for us. You have 48 hours to move out of the house."
Oh, wow.
I said, "Hey, this is my 1 year date today, don't you?" He's like, "Yeah, and I'm sorry." And I said, "I'm not from California. I'm from Oklahoma." He said, "Well, you'll figure it out." And so then and the first thing I do is I walk. My first thing my mind tells me is this recovery stuff they talk about is a bunch of bullshit. My life's not getting any better. I'm still losing jobs. You know what I mean? I can't hold down a job. I get fired for stupid stuff. Luckily I called my sponsor, and he said, "Kenny," he said, "You know what?" He says, it's going to be okay." And I said, "Yeah, that's easy for you to say, because you're sitting on this side of the fence. I'm over here without a job. I got 48 hours to move out of sober living. Where am I going to go?" And he says, "We'll figure it out." He said, "I've got your back. God's got your back." And I worked in the Narcotics Anonymous program, and he said, "Narcotics Anonymous, it's NA. You're never alone. NA stands for never alone. You're not going to go through this by yourself." He said, "Just know God's got your back." Man, he said, "As long as you don't pick up, as long as you don't use, your life will continue to get better. I told you that 9 months ago." I said, "Okay, whatever, what I mean? So whatever, and he said, "You'll look back at this day, and you're going to you'll look back at this day, and the guy that fired you, and you'll be grateful for this day. Might not be 3 months now, might be a year from now, but you're going to look back and think, that's the best thing that ever happened to you." And I thought, how can you sit here and say this? How can you, but you know what? I look at my life today, and if I saw that guy again today, I would probably say, "Thank you. Thank you for firing me."
Yeah.
I've got a baby on the way that's going to be due Saturday. You know what I mean?
Man.
Yeah. I've got a better job, better paying job. I met a lot of people out here, you know, by getting fired through this other company that I work for, and you know, I'm doing some. I work for Beachview Recovery now. I'm I'm their public relations guy. You know, I'll be going out to different states here in Oklahoma, trying to get people in recovery. So yeah, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for them people firing me that day. You know.
Yeah.
But my sponsor was right. You know what I mean? And do I like? And I hate to admit it, but yeah, he was right. He was right. You know. But once again, as long as I don't pick up, as long as I don't use, my life will continue to get better, and it's gotten better. It's gotten better by that. So, yeah.
Amen to that, bro.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So you that just wow, being fired, not being from out here. Like that was gonna be one of my next questions. It's like, what was the most challenging adversity you had to face? And that seems like that was you pretty much answered that right on the point, you know. And like becoming public relations for a treatment center, like who would have thought?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Who would have thought? I never, you know, me first coming out here, you know, if somebody would have said, you know, Kenny, you think you're going to go to California for treatment? You think you think you'll be working in treatment as a behavioral health tech? Get your RAD T, be a medicine wheel training, you know, with the White Bison, with Will Bridie, facilitator. I'd have told him you lost your mind. Yeah. Are you crazy? I'm just going out there to take a little vacation, you know. But yeah, I never would have thought that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
Hold on, before you start. What is Will Bridie for those who don't know?
Will Bridie is a 12-step. It's based off. Will Bridie is also a part of the AA. It's based off the 12 steps. Once again. But we use the 4 directions, you know.
So it's more Native American?
It's yes, mostly for Native Americans. We use the...
Before anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Before anybody. It starts with the... how would you say that? With the child, adolescent, young adult, and then the elders. You know what I mean? So it's the 4 directions that we use. But you know, a lot of it. What I've learned is, because I'm new to this as well. You know, I didn't grow up a lot of the Native American ways as a kid. But yeah, so I'm learning a lot about Will Bridie. But you know, we deal with a lot of as natives. We deal with a lot of childhood trauma. You know what I mean? So even back in the boarding schools, you know, back in the day of the boarding schools, you know, we were punished because we wore our hair long. We talk with the native tongues, you know. So I think, you know, the boarding schools were designed to take our heritage away from us. You know,
you went to boarding school?
No. Yeah, but I had cousins that went. But you know, they cut your hair. You got disciplined when you spoke your language. Yeah. You know, sung native songs. You know what I mean? So they tried to take. They tried to make us not be proud to be natives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what the boarding schools were designed for back in those days. You know, and so yeah. But Will Bridie's new to me as well. But it is based off AA and a 12-step program. It's got the same principles. You know,
same concept.
Yeah, same concept.
Nice.
But you know, for me, I believe, you know, you can work AA, NA, Will Bridie, but you got to work some type of program.
Some type of program.
Yeah, because it's the inside job. You know what I mean? You know, it's like drugs and alcohol is not the problem. It was the solution. You know, that was the solution for us. You know, so. Yeah, we got to start working on the inside.
Yeah, man. That's what I try to tell a lot of newcomers is, you know, work a program, but also at least try to get a one-on-one session on therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's where I feel like I make a lot of my big changes.
Sure, therapy is big for us. You know, I know when it comes to mental health, you know, nobody wants to. I don't have mental health problems. Addiction and mental health go hand in hand. Yeah. You know, we're it just one goes with the other. You know what I mean? So yeah, seeing a therapist. You know, we have to see. We need somebody to talk to. Somebody we can dump all of our problems on. You know what I mean? Somebody that understands. You know what I mean? What we're going through. You know, it's hard to talk to a norm. You know, and then because they don't understand. That's the good thing about AA and NA. I'm surrounded by my people that understand how my mind thinks at times.
Oh
yeah. So.
Dang, bro. Yeah. Man, I really enjoyed, man, this whole conversation, man. This whole thing, bro. I really like
Yeah.
your insight from it, man. Just some ways that changed your life.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh man,
My
you got
life-
a baby. You got a baby on the way.
Yeah, at 54 years old, I never thought, that this is where my path has led me. I mean, I'm so blessed. I mean, it's one thing my mother always said. I told my mother, I said, well, I got a job, I got a baby on the way, I've got money in the bank, and she'd say, no, God's blessed you with all those. God's blessed you with all those. You can't take the credit for that. Just know that God's blessed you with all those. You know what I mean? So, and I have to remember that I'm not where I'm at because of me. It's because God's placed Himself in my life. You know what I mean? To be where I'm at today. You know what I mean? I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for you, Stephen. You know what I mean? You've came a long ways. Let's talk about you. Yeah, you've came a long way. Doing this thing out here. You know what I mean? But I think California is a good place for our natives to come. I think for me, and for a lot of people, I couldn't get clean in Holdenville. I had to separate myself from that environment for a while. You know what I mean? And some people can separate themselves for 90 days, maybe 6 months, and go back to that environment. The statistics aren't very good.
No.
They're not good at all. The success rate when people go back to Oklahoma is not very good.
Not at all.
So I tell people, come to California, build you a life. To make you a life out here. Build your life you're not willing to give up today. You know what I mean? And I'm just not willing to give up a life. I have a beautiful life today. I'm just not willing to give it up.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Man, so before we close out, man, I would like to ask you one last question, man. What advice would you give someone who is considering starting their own recovery journey?
I would say, first of all, we got to be honest. We got to be honest with ourselves. Just open-minded, and we got to be willing to change. You know what I mean? It's not easy coming out here or going anywhere for that fact. I will say this, and I've heard people do it back in Oklahoma. I think a person can get clean and sober anywhere it's the mindset. It's the mindset. However, I think we got to remove ourselves from that environment. Especially people from Oklahoma. We're stuck in these little towns of Holdenville, Okemah, and the same people are doing the same things
Still.
Yeah. Then even when we come back out here for California for a while, if we go back to those little small communities and there's no room for growth, there's no jobs available for us. We got a background like we got. Don't hire him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's just going to steal from you. He's not going to show up from you. He's just a dope head. I think a lot of times, it's hard for people to forgive us. And I can remember something my dad told me one time. It's harder to live it up than it is to live it down. People don't remember us for all the good things we've done. They remember that he got arrested. Remember that time he wrecked that car. Remember that time he ran from the police. Yeah, that's what people. That's what draws people. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I think people who are in recovery, give yourself a chance. You know what I mean? Give your family a chance. You know what I mean? Recovery is available. To each and every one of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So for anybody that's like wanting to get out from Oklahoma or just come into recovery, period. You gave me your shirt, bro. So let me go ahead and pull the shirt up real quick, man. Go ahead and show the people what we got going on here. Got beach view.
Beach view. Yeah.
Beach view.
Yeah.
So the number's right here.
Yeah, but that's not the number you want to put up.
Okay, that's not the number.
Yeah.
That's not the number.
That's not the number you want to use.
So how would people get a hold of you, or what would you want to? How would somebody reach out to you?
Yes, if you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please feel free to. You can contact me. My name is Kenny Chambers. My phone number is 747-888-1782. Just reach out to me. We can get you out here to California to get you some recovery. Yes. So
there you go, guys, man. I really hope you enjoyed today's little show, interview, whatever you want to call it. Man, I really hope it touched somebody today, because it really touched me. Man, you're just, we're not alone at this. We're not by ourselves, and don't be scared to ask for help. That's probably one of my biggest fears. It's how everybody was gonna laugh at me, like, oh, you had to go get help, but I'm probably the best decision I made in my life, So, but thank you for getting
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you so much.
for, even the camera was freaking dying and
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
overheating.
Yeah.
But man, we got some good stuff.
Native camera.
You got some good stuff.
I appreciate
though,
it though. Yeah, I'm honored. I'm honored and blessed. Man, thank you so much.
Yeah, bro.
For what you do. For our native people. We need help. Our people are dying back home. They really are. It's like you said. Fentanyl's killing people. It's coming for our people. Hard and heavy. So.
All right, bro.
Thanks again.
Man.
Appreciate it, bro. That was good, bro.
That was good, bro. Good stuff.